What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday. Today, we're going to react to Blazer trade ideas. We're also going to pick 6 games for picks against the spread, powered by BetUS. And today, it's trade season. Once December 15th hits and a lot of players become trade available, that's when you start to hear the rumor mill start churning. You had a big trade with Dennis Schroeder going to the Golden State Warriors, and there's been a lot of speculation around various Blazer veterans. We talked about it a lot on our post-game show yesterday. We discussed some trade ideas, but with this being a shorter stream than that was, we almost streamed for 3 hours last night, we're just going to react to a couple of ideas as well. Eric should be here to react to those. He'll be here in about 20 minutes. And, of course, we got to pick games with the first games tipping off at 4:10 p.m. Hopefully you guys are having a good start to your week. I'm really looking forward to the trade deadline, and I always enjoy being able to load up a stream with some legitimate trade talk and start talking about trade ideas. I know that's a lot of fun as we wait and see how the Blazers cash in on their veterans and all that good stuff. If you're new to our second channel, if you're new to this show, the first half is picking spreads for today's game, and the second half is the topic of the stream. If you're watching this back after the fact and want to skip ahead to the trade talk, you can do so. I'm not offended, but shout out to all of you who are here who will be picking for chat in picks against the spread. Let's take a look at the latest standings. Eric continues to lead this thing. Trevin got into a tie with him, but a 4-5 day from Trevin has him 2 games back. Eric, Chat, Javon, and 503 led the day on Friday with 6-3 records. The worst record of the day, 3-6 from Crushables and Brendan. Not much difference between these records. We had an above 500 day, which is good because we're trying to claw our way back to 500. We've won about 48% of our games so far. But with 6 games today, we'll see if Trevin can supplant Eric. And I said this last stream, you kind of got a couple different tiers. You got the top tier, Eric, Trevin, myself, Crushables, and then there's been a gap between 4th and 5th place for quite a while now. Chat, you guys are doing your best to try and make that up, so we'll see if you can continue to do so today. Let's jump into game number 1. Game number 1. We got to do the full camera since Eric isn't here. We got the Charlotte Hornets. We got the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers are 2-point road favorites. Shout out to Brendan for getting me the injuries. The injuries in this game out for the Sixers are Dembona, Jared McCain, who's going to be out for a while, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid. Out for the Hornets is Grant Williams and Trey Mann. In case you're new to picks against the spread, the 76ers have to win by more than 2 points. If they win by 1 point, which is below their 2-point spread, then the Hornets would be the right pick. So you're not picking who necessarily is going to win this game. You're picking based on the spread line that is available over at BetUS. So go ahead and vote for that chat poll. This is how we determine chat picks. And then we got our mods and our social media team all picking games as well. This is a tough one given no Embiid, given no Jared McCain. But you do got PG. You do got Tyrese Maxey. And also, LaMelo Ball, it sounds like, is back for this game. All right, so picks that we have so far. We got Crushables going Hornets. I'm going to go Hornets. We got Philly for 503. Stephen Vaughn is going with the Hornets. You got Eric going Sixers, Zach going Sixers, Arrow going Sixers. All right, and then everybody else should be in the chat. We got Hornets for Jackson and Trevin. Connor and Brendan are going Wizards. I'll text Javon, and then we will end the chat poll, plug in chat's pick, and move on to the next game. Like I said, there's 6 games today. Oh, I have the Wizards. Oh, let me fix that logo. Apologies. That's supposed to be a Sixers logo. I felt like I was screwing something up. Anyway, all right, chat, it looks like is going with the Hornets, 67% of the vote in this one. So this right now is a good old split vote, 6v6. Hopefully Javon will hop in here and pick this game. Game number 2, we have the Detroit Pistons hosting the Miami Heat. You got another road favorite in this one, as the Heat are 4.5-point favorites. Out for this game for the Heat is Josh Richardson, Pele Larson, and Nikola Jovic. And then out for the Pistons is Tobias Harris. All right, chat, there is your poll. Going back to the last game, we have Javon going Hornets. So this is a 7v6 in favor of the Hornets. For game number 2, it's a tough one. The spreads today, I think, are very, very tough, I might say. So I don't know what I want to go with yet. We'll plug in other picks while I think about it. All right. So Crushables is Heat. .503 is Heat. We got Stephen Vaughn going Pistons. We got Heat for Arrow, Pistons for Zach and Eric. Javon is going Heat. I'm also going to go Heat. We got Trevin Heat, Brendan Heat. Then we just need Jackson and Connor. And chat, it looks like, is going Pistons, 60% of the vote. Jackson went Heat. Connor says, will Paul Reed be available? Paul Reed got cut. Jackson, Connor going Heat. All right, so this is a 9v4 in favor of the Miami Heat. Game number 3, we have the Toronto Raptors hosting the Chicago Bulls, another road favorite, as the Bulls are 1.5-point road favorites. Injuries for this game. Out for the Bulls are E.J. Liddell, Dalen Terry, and Zach LaVine. Lonzo Ball is probable. Then out for the Raptors is Scotty Barnes, Jameson Battle, Emmanuel Quickley, and Bruce Brown. Oh, they re-signed him? I did not see that. Yeah, I don't know his status then. I don't know why they... Somebody will have to explain to me why they cut him and re-signed him immediately after. I don't really understand the reasoning behind that off the top of my head, but maybe they have a good reason, or maybe they're just being Detroit. All right. I'll go Bulls, I guess. We got Bulls for 503. We got Raptors for Crushables. And we got Bulls for Stephen Vaughn. Eric is Bulls. Zach is Bulls. Arrow is Raptors. In chat, we got Jackson, Connor, Brendan, Bulls. We got Raptors for Trevin. Raptors for Javon. And then chat is going with the Bulls, 62% of the vote, which makes this a 9v4, another 9v4 in favor of the Bulls. Alrighty, game number 4. We have the Brooklyn Nets hosting the 22-4 Cleveland Cavaliers. Another road favorite. The Cavs are 10.5-point road favorites. The Nets recently traded Dennis Schroeder. And the injury report for this game, out for the Cavaliers is Imani Bates and Max Strus. And then questionable is Craig Porter Jr. Out for the Nets, DeAnthony Melton, who they acquired for Dennis Schroeder, Bojan Bogdanovic, Zaire Williams, and Cam Thomas. So I'll plug in the picks, then I'll give my pick. I actually have some thoughts behind this pick. Maybe that means I should double down on it. Sometimes I just go with gut instinct. Sometimes I go off of vibes. I'm using my head with this pick, all right? We got Cavs for Jackson, Brendan, Javon. All right, we got Cavs for Arrow, Cavs for Zach, Cavs for Eric. All right, we got Cavs for 503, who went all favorites because he loves himself a favorite. We got Cavs for Steven. We got Nets for Crushables. This could be island territory because Connor's going Cavs. Chat is going to go Cavs. It looks like 90% of the vote. I'm also going to go Cavs. I think if they had Schroeder, I would have went Nets with the spread line. I just think without Cam Thomas and without Schroeder, they're not going to have enough guard playmaking, especially against a good defensive team. So this one feels like a blowout to me. And Trevin is going Cavs. So this is an island for Crushables. He's the only one going with the Nets. Also, he doubled down on this game. So double down island for Crushables. All right, game number 5. We have the Sacramento Kings hosting the Denver Nuggets. We finally have a home favorite, a very low spread. The Kings are 1.5-point home favorites. Out for the Nuggets, Deron Holmes, he's out for the year. Vlatko Kankar, he's going to be out for a while. And Dario Saric. Questionable is Christian Brown, and probable is Jamal Murray. Out for the Kings is Devin Carter, Trey Lyles, and Kevin Huerter. And then questionable is Keegan Murray. This is going to be a tough game to pick. This might be the toughest game of the day to pick. We already got a couple of Nuggets picks for both Javon, Connor, and Brendan. We got Nuggets for Zach, Nuggets for Arrow, Nuggets for Eric. I'm going to go Kings. We got Kings for Jackson, Nuggets for Trevin. All right, and then Crushables went Nuggets. 503 went Kings. And Steven went Nuggets. Chat is a 50-50 tie. One more vote in the chat poll. You get to decide this one for chat if you vote next. We got 10 votes, 50-50 vote between the Nuggets and Kings. And then we'll be on to the final game of the day. One vote in for the Nuggets. Chat will be going with the Denver Nuggets. So this is a 10v3 in favor of Denver. I thought it would be a little closer than this. And here we go into the final game of the day. You got the Los Angeles Clippers hosting the Utah Jazz. The Clippers are 8-point home favorites. Injuries for this game, out for the Jazz, are Taylor Hendricks and Svi Mikhailuk. Out for the Clippers, P.J. Tucker, Kobe Brown, Terrence Mann, Derek Jones Jr., and Kawhi Leonard. There's your chat poll chat. The Jazz have been playing better basketball lately. The Clippers kind of struggling lately. Do the trends continue? Javon Jackson going Jazz. And by better basketball for the Jazz, I mean being like actually somewhat competitive and in games. We got Clippers for Eric, Jazz for Arrow, Clippers for Zach. All right, we got, let's see, Clippers for Stephen Vaughn, Jazz for Crushables, and we got Clippers for 503. Trevor went Jazz. Connor went Cloppers. And Brendan went with the Utah Jazz. Chat is going with the Clippers. Oh, man. Right now, this is a split vote. So what I decide goes. And I don't know. It's tough. You got Laurie. I'll go with the Utah Jazz. I'll go with the Trends. We got a 7v6 in favor of the Jazz. Now let's move on to double downs. I'm going to double down on the Cleveland Cavaliers. The double down for 503 is the Miami Heat. The double down for Stephen Vaughn is the Pistons. Crushables is doubling down on his island, which is the Brooklyn Nets. Eric's double down is the Chicago Bulls. Right now we got all different teams. You love to see it. Arrow's going to end that. He's going with the Cavaliers for the second stream in a row. We got Zach going with the Denver Nuggets. All right, and then in chat, we got Cavs for Jackson and Javon. And then we got Trevin. Going with the Heat. What was Chat's double down, by the way? Chat's was Cavs, huh? I remember the Cavs getting like 90%. All right, we need Brendan. We need Connor. Connor's double down is the Bulls. Brendan is also the Bulls. And those are double downs. In case you're new, double downs makes it an extra win or loss. So you either go 2-0 on this game or 0-2. These are basically the picks that we're most confident in. We got 5 double downs on the Cavs. We got 3 double downs on the Bulls. It's funny because the first 6 picks were all different, and then the rest were all the same. You got 2 on the Heat. You got Zach on his own with the Nuggets. You got Crushables doubling down against the Cavs with the Nets on an island. And you got Steven with the Detroit Pistons. That is picks against the spread. Thank you all for your participation. And I'm timing this at the end of the background beat, so that's pretty sick. All right. Eric, are you around, sir? Because I know you said 20 minutes. We want to grade some trades, some trade ideas. Jonathan, that's that's funny. Yeah, I want the rundown on the Paul Reed shenanigans, and then you gotta love radio, right, Jonathan? You gotta love radio hosts. Tori, did my 3-team trade ideas make the cut? No, these are just online, so I'm just waiting to see if Eric is around or not. Because he was in chat. He said he'd be 20 minutes, so I will stall the stream until Eric is here, and then we can talk trades. Would the real Slim Shady please stand up? I don't know. I'm not the real Slim Shady. I guess until Eric joins. Where's my basketball? Right here. All right. Chat, can I make this first try, chat? We'll see. Hopefully I don't bump my mic. Oh, I airmailed it. Oh, I rimmed it. Oh, I rimmed it again. I'm falling apart. My shot's regressing like Shaden's. Oh my goodness, I'm 0 for 6. Hopefully my picks today don't go this bad. I might give up. Just an embarrassing showing for myself. Still no answer from Eric. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. I'll give you a call then. We'll grade some trades. It'll be fun. Hello.
Hola.
I'm in a massive shooting slump right now. I'm kind of
You're in a what?
I'm in a massive shooting slump right now.
I know. I saw you.
I'm like 0 for 15.
Someone called you Scoot in chat.
I'm like Denny to start the year. It's hard to shoot with touch on this, man. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Man,
This must have been what it's like for Shaq to shoot free throws.
I'm so disappointed in you.
I'm like determined to make one before we move on, but at this rate,
Could be a while.
yeah.
You got the hand.
No, there we go. All right.
You got the hand over the top. Oh,
Well, the ball's small, man. I don't know.
got to shoot like Sohan on free throws.
Okay, here, I'll try the Sohan. Try the Sohan just for you.
What's up, everyone? Good to see you all.
Will this be better or worse? Let's see. Oh, that was money. You're right. Yeah. It was the hand on top.
Nice.
Alrighty. We'll put you on the screen. Wait, which... There we go. Alrighty. So, we're going to grade some trades. Last night's post-game show was a movie. Like, it was long. Like, almost 3 hours, so... We talked about a lot on last night's post-game show. Next post-game show is Thursday, so you can always go back after the stream and listen to that post-game show. If you want to hear our thoughts on a lot of trade talk, we're not going to go necessarily as in-depth. I just figured we'd react to trades, Eric. And there's one where the Blazers trade for Zion that I haven't seen yet. There's one that's like the worst trade ever and probably doesn't even work. All right. Should I start with the bad one, or should I start with the Zion one, or should I start with the Fanspo ones? I got a couple from Fanspo.
We'll start with the Fanspo ones there. Are these actual Fanspo tweets, or are they just ones?
It's on. Well, they have a Blazers feed on Fanspo.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not. Yeah, it's you. It's random people.
Well, the Fanspo guy always posts like the worst trades ever.
Yeah. No, it's random people on Fanspo. Let me set up this window capture. Can we do this properly? Oh, look at this trade. It's like last night. We're getting back GP 2 weeks.
Ugh.
Buy him out. We can buy him out. It's okay. All right. So, in this trade, the Blazers trade Jeremy, trade Ant, trade Robert Williams, trade a 2026 first-round pick, even though they can't. Oh, it doesn't follow the CBA. Let's just say, why are we trading the Warriors a 2026 first and getting back a Warriors 2026 first? Do we just want to say that's like the right to swap in our favor?
Sure.
Right.
This one has the Anthony Melton too, though, who's no longer on the Warriors, so they can no longer do this.
Yeah, let's just grade the return, okay? The Pacers for Anthony Simons makes no sense. Robert Williams makes a lot of sense for the Pacers. I did not know I was getting into myself with Fanspo trades. I don't know why I assumed that they were actually going to be solid.
This is just like random people. Those are the worst.
Yeah. No, this is, even though this one doesn't work and has like issues with it and doesn't have much logic, it's still better than the one that's in an actual article where the Blazers trade 3 veterans. Let's look at the other Fanspo one. Will the other Fanspo one be any better? It is better. It is better. I think the Pistons are under the cap, but like a minimum contract makes this work also. Also, they might only be under the cap on Fanspo because they cut Paul Reed. You're going to have to explain that. But
oh, I can't wait. That's like CBA porn.
Yeah, we'll do that after this trade idea. So, in this one, yeah, you get a first. Detroit has traded their 2025 first, so they actually can't trade it to 2027. You can just say, okay, future Detroit first with some protections, most likely, and Tim Hardaway. Is that not enough? Depending on the protections, let's say it's like top 10 protected. Is that not enough?
I think I'd rather have, if it's protected, I'd rather have like Holland or someone just take.
I just don't think they're gonna trade the guy that drafted 5th.
I know. I'm just saying. I'd rather. I don't know. It's not very much. But I'd probably take it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you hold out for more value there. I think that hopefully that is the floor for Ant. It's sad that like I look at a trade like that and don't think it's completely unreasonable anymore. Like last year, I'd be like, hell no. Last year, we both would have been a hell no. Unfortunately, the trade floor has lowered, and I just hope that's the trade floor because it might be lower than that. To be honest, I don't know exactly what Ant's value is, and that's the tough thing. But that one, you can at least see the logic. The Pistons are a team that could definitely use Anthony Simons. I think he would make sense there. They need shooting. But what do you do with Jaden Ivey? We had that conversation last night on the postgame show, so we can move on from that one.
As Connor points out, Jaden Ivey a late scratch from the game tonight.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. So what's the Paul Reed thing?
All right. Dude, it's kind of crazy. So Paul Reed's salary was non-guaranteed.
Yeah.
And so they waived him. I think it was like a partial guarantee. Actually, it was like 3.4 million, if I'm not mistaken, or something.
Yeah.
And then they signed some random dude just to cut him, which guaranteed like a prorated salary of like 32,000 or something that got them back over the salary floor to make the their team legal and not face any consequences for being under the floor while Paul Reed cleared waivers. And then Reed just agreed to go back to them for a veteran minimum for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so they just saved money.
So they saved like $3.5 million by doing this, and they went from $10.5 million in cap space to $14 million in cap space. And the logic behind it is that that there's teams still with their full mid-level exception that they could use as a trade exception, and they just put themselves in a position to get a few players that are slightly more than that tax mid-level exception that could be available, or that could need to be salary dumped. So they just basically can absorb anyone that some teams can't, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Okay, it all makes sense now. Yeah, because I thought Paul Reed had like weird incentives in his contract, so I don't know why I thought it was like fully guaranteed this year. But yeah, wow. So
like
their front office is. I mean, that sounds like smart front office stuff.
I don't know if it'll like lead to anything. I mean, you never know. You know, like people create crazy trade exceptions all the time and they go unused. But
yeah,
if they do end up doing something with this, you have to give them credit for being like finding a creative way to make some money or get some more money under the cap while also staying above the floor and maximizing that. So we'll see what they do with it. That will decide whether it was smart or not. But I just think it's cool that you see a GM being creative to like maximize how much cap space you can have.
You want to know what that makes me wonder? I wonder if Joe Cronin was their GM, if they still would have been creative like that.
Oh, hell.
Yeah, so I don't
Reed
know.
would have been on a fully guaranteed contract, and they would have been not
That is
having any
worth
cap
two
space.
first and Jarris Walker at the same time, yeah. Love it. Anyway, that's interesting. I love hearing about that stuff. What trade do you want to look at next? The Zion one or the one that's just absolutely horrendous?
Let's do the horrendous one. We'll save Zion for last because
Okay. So it was. Hold on. Let me pull up the article that I saw it in, because I think it was like an article of an article. You gotta love aggregation. Okay, so This is on Blazers SI, and this is a reaction to a trade proposal. But the title of this article is Wild Trade Proposal Sees Blazers Empty the Tank for Massive Return from Lakers. Okay, massive return. You're like, oh, two firsts? Two firsts and like a player? For who? Okay. So in this trade, the Blazers are trading Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, and Robert Williams to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Jeez.
And in return, the Blazers get D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Jared Vanderbilt, Max Christie, Gabe Vincent, a 2026 first-round pick swap that is irrelevant because the Blazers will owe Chicago their 2026 first-round pick. I guess maybe the Blazers can trade it once they get into, once it's in the lottery, but are the Lakers going to be in the lottery next year? Like, that's pretty meaningless to me. The only way the Blazers could swap their 2026 pick up is if they're in the lottery and the Lakers are in the lottery, and the Lakers are even worse than the Blazers. Okay? The other picks in the deal, Eric, a 2027 second-round pick and a 2030 second-round pick.
Massive haul for the Lakers?
Nope, massive haul for the Blazers. Wild trade proposal sees Blazers empty the tank for massive return from Lakers. I guess they mean massive in terms of, like, lots of players.
Just sheer quantity, yeah.
Yeah, massive in terms of quantity, man. You're getting back 6 players for those 3. I mean, who knows if the salary works. But it's like, dude, you're taking on Max Christie's contract. Or not Max Christie. Gabe Vincent's contract. Max Christie might be the best long-term asset they get back in this deal, which is disgusting. D'Angelo, Rui, I guess you try and flip. But, like, do they have that much value? I don't know. And the pick swap is just pointless. Like, you can get rid of that. It's basically just 2 second-round picks and, like, a bunch of pieces for Simons, Grant, and Robert Williams.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gross.
Wow. I honestly, if we get, I mean, the players are insignificant in my mind in this, short of flipping someone. But
yeah.
In terms of the pick compensation, I would be disappointed at this point if we traded Robert Williams by himself for that,
Yeah.
So without like a for sure first. So to give him up and Anthony and Jeremy Grant, I don't know, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean that's not even the first round pick in a young player that
And this
is the supposed
pick
asset.
was originated from SI, or they were just looking at trade ideas, or what?
This did not originate from SI.
Okay.
This is from Fadeaway World.
Oh, okay. All right.
Whatever that is. I mean, it's just gross trade. All right. Now let's look at the Zion one. Massive trade. Go ahead.
Real quick, Alex Wolf's 30th birthday was yesterday, so I wanted to wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, old man. You're officially old now. You're in your 30s.
He was worried about that. He's like, I'm so old now, and I was like, dude, it's not any different than being 29.
Yeah.
So you just made it worse.
Happy birthday. Maybe for your birthday, the Blazers can get Zion Williamson. Wait, no, he's a Cavs fan. He already has a good birthday present. We'll see if the Cavs can cover the spread today. They need to for my pick. Zion. Massive trade proposal sees... You got to love these adjectives. In every article, it's massive return, massive trade proposal, giant trade, humongous return. It's always adjectives like that. I respect it. Massive trade proposal sees Blazers land Zion Williamson from the Pelicans. Okay, I have not seen this trade yet. All right. In this trade, the Blazers receive Zion Williamson and Javonte Green. And you want to know do you want to guess what the Pelicans receive? Or do you just want me to tell
Is it
you?
like Scoot or something?
No,
Oh.
no. The Pelicans receive DeAndre Ayton, Jabari Walker, a 2030 first-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick.
Well, the rumor is that they would be open to trading Zion for a first-round pick. So,
Bro, you ain't getting Zion for Ayton and a first-round pick.
honestly, no. The rumor today was that it sounded like you could possibly get that.
No, there's going to be too many teams that will want to take a flyer on him. And that'll give up something to take a flyer on him. Ayton and a first-round pick for Zion is... You might have to attach a first-round pick just to get rid of Ayton in the first place, let alone get Zion.
Yeah.
I mean, you would do that in a heartbeat, right? Depending on the 2030 first. Let's just say it has some protection on it.
So, with Zion, I don't know for sure, but I've heard that since he isn't going to play 50% of the games this year or something, like his contract the last 3 years becomes non-guaranteed.
So Zion is the expiring contract we get for Ayton.
But also it makes it so there's like no risk really, you know? Like,
yeah.
I mean, giving up a first sucks, but yeah.
I mean, you're Zion though, man, and you're trading freaking Ayton.
I mean,
it's just comical.
I'm not the biggest Zion fan, but I do that. I think that's a risk you take.
Oh, I mean, that's easy. It's not even much of a risk at all. That's just...
Yeah.
That's an easy trade, man. Easy. Anyway, yeah, I was just expecting to see more assets, and then just to see a first in Ayton.
Yeah.
Is wild. I don't understand the Jabari for Javonte Green part of it, but...
Yeah, why wouldn't a team that's like a contender just... If it was that easy to trade for him, just trade for him and just put him in bubble wrap until the playoffs or something,
exactly.
and then like hope he is fine. Yeah,
exactly. Like what? Why wouldn't the Kings do that?
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
So here's the quote, according to Bobby Marks. New Orleans could receive expiring contracts and perhaps a future first round pick.
I mean, why wouldn't they just hang on to Zion if he's non-guaranteed? That doesn't pass the logic test to me because they can basically cut him any offseason, not owe him anything.
Yeah.
So why would they just value expirings in like one lowly first compared to just like hoping he pans out, and then if they really want to get rid of him, just cutting him?
Yeah.
So I don't really understand the logic there. I think you'll have a team that I think will be willing to give up at least a first and another asset, whether that's another first or a good young player, not a Keon Johnson, right? I think Charlotte would be the type of team to maybe try and pull that trigger and pair Zion with LaMelo, and then they can be injured on the bench together. I mean, Chicago, like, you got to think about all these teams that you don't normally think of in terms of trading for, like, a win-now veteran, right? Because we're not talking about Charlotte or Chicago trading for Jeremy Grant, right? Because they're in the lottery. They're rebuilding. But Zion's still young enough where it's like, oh, we can take a flyer on this guy when healthy. He plays, like, at an all-star level. And he's still, 23, 24 years old, however old he is? Like, you're going to get... not only the contenders, you're going to get the Charlottes and Chicagos of the world that might be willing to take a flyer on him. So that's why I think ultimately he will have enough of a bidding war around him to get back more value than like DeAndre Ayton in the first.
Yeah, he's 24. July 6th is his birthday, so it's not.
I just think like half the league would be interested in taking a flyer on him.
Yeah,
that's truly what it is. And like if it's just a first and a contract, like that's a flyer. Mm-hmm. It just takes one of those many teams to be willing to give up that second first.
Yeah, the only problem is he makes almost $37 million this year, so a lot of teams that is tough right there. Just automatically rules them out.
I mean, Charlotte and Chicago could easily make that
Yeah,
work.
for sure.
And that's the thing with all those teams. Those teams are in better position to trade for a salary like that and take a flyer on a salary like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Chicago would be willing to go after him to A, take a flyer on him, and B, maybe get off of Patrick Williams' contract because that contract doesn't look good. Patrick Williams is signed for like 5 years, $18 million a year. It's probably going up, and he's just extremely mid. Like, I don't think Patrick Williams is a good contract, so it's like, shoot, you get off him, take a flyer on Zion, maybe be willing to give up a little more.
Mm-hmm. Man,
Josh Giddey needs someone to pass to, right?
I bet they're wishing they didn't give up that Lakers first for DeJounte.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like the trade in the first place. They're a weird team. You know what I worry about? Like, I know Zion's a star, but he's like never healthy. But let's just say he like was more healthy but not quite as good and was like Ingram level. That's my biggest worry out of a Blazers rebuild is they end up with a team like that. Mm-hmm. And then they like make moves for the DeJounte Murrays and CJ McCollums of the world, and it's just like none of these guys can lead our team.
Well, I think that was the problem. I mean, I think you look at OKC and maybe even Denver, like you see those teams build kind of organically and just add like role player pieces, not like, but those teams like never were like sacrificing future to make the playoffs like New Orleans did. And that, I think that going back to that season, I said it was dumb at the time, but I mean, obviously we got some value out of that, but
those
like,
two teams also got extremely lucky though.
Right, but like
you got the best second round pick ever, and then you got like the Clippers basically trading you a package for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and SGA is in there after a rookie season, and all of a sudden he's going to become a top 5 player. Nobody saw it coming. Like maybe props to their development, but all the picks that came with that, and then like they moved up to 2 and got Chet. You know what I mean? Like the Pelicans didn't move up in that draft, and they got Dyson Daniels, and then he didn't really do anything. If they got Chet is like the perfect center to pair next to Zion. And you know what I mean? So that's the thing with like lottery luck too, and where you draft. It worked out in OKC's favor. Now they also drafted Jalen Williams at 12. The Pelicans could have drafted Jalen Williams, so they missed out. But there's elements of good front office, good development, but also luck as well.
Yeah,
with the two teams like that. But go on.
Well, I mean, obviously those are two extreme examples, but I do. So I give teams credit for trying it that way too, even if it doesn't work out. Because you look at Brooklyn, for example. The last couple of years, they've been trying to be mid instead of just bottoming them out. And this offseason, they decide, okay, we have a great draft coming up, the next 2 drafts. Like, let's get our picks back and bottom out. And I think that was smart. So, like, they have both examples of being stupid and being smart now. If they make a trade for someone that's going to, like, ruin that and make them back into that mid-range, like, that's not good in my opinion. They should stay with the course that they stuck to this, or that they created this summer. And the Bulls are the extreme example the other way of a team that's just been very mediocre for years and just refused to pack it in and rebuild. And they've had several rebuilds that have not gone well since, you know, the Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah days. But it still doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do, and they've just refused to do it. And so, yeah, I'd much rather, like you said, if I'm the Blazers, just keep trying to add pieces that long-term could lead to success rather than, like, try to make a play-in next year or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's why you got to be patient. That's why, you know, you got to keep hoping for draft luck, man. If we had Jalen Williams, I'd be confident, like, oh, he might be able to be a number one player on a contending team in his prime with how good he's looked this year. He's a great number two, though. Great number two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just how are the Blazers going to find that superstar? You still be patient with Sharp, man, but he's our best hope, and I'm not as confident in him panning out as I'd like to be in our biggest hope for a star. If we had somebody that we had a ton of confidence could become a star and like was on that track and ascending like that, and then Sharp was like, okay, hopefully he can be the number two next to that guy, I'd feel a lot better about that than like hopefully Sharp can become our number one.
Mm-hmm. Shelvin asked, how does the Denny deal factor into that? I kind of see where someone could see it as a team trying to be a little better than they should be, but he's still 23 on a great contract for 4 years. So like, I do think it was kind of the best of both worlds with Denny. You get a guy who's a really good player that might be our best player right now, but also on a great contract. You don't have to pay him a max for at least 4 years when you trade for him. And then, he can be for sure a core piece of a team for a decade. So I don't have an issue with that. I do hate giving up picks as a rebuilding team, but I think that particular trade will prove worth it.
Yeah, and he also has a combination of skills that is really hard to find or draft in a forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why it's okay that he comes at maybe a little bit of a premium.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The Blazers have to find their star, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's trade the vets, right? So we just reacted to a couple trade packages, but it's trade the vets, accumulate assets. There's only going to be two ways they can attract a star or land a star. It's going to be through the draft or it's going to be via trade. Okay? You want to have enough assets to be able to swing a trade for a star, and a legitimate star, not sitting here like, oh, we don't have that many assets, so we're going to trade for the C.J. McCollums and DeJounte Murrays of the world. You can trade for those types of players if you have, like, enough top-end talent and need to fill out your roles beneath that. The way this Portland team is trending, they're going to have a lot of really good role players and a lot of roles filled well. You got the rim protector, defensive anchor role filled with Donovan Clingan long term. Denny fills a role in terms of like a two-way playmaking forward that can play really good defense and push the ball and transition. Like, he's pretty unique. Swiss Army knife type role. Okay, Tamani fits your 3-and-D role. You got a lot of these roles that look like they're going to be filled, right? And scorer off the bench, that could be Sharp, right? If Sharp doesn't pan out, like sixth man off the bench, right now it seems like they're going to be able to have something close to that with Scoot or Sharp. You know, I don't know how those guys go long term, but it's like you got roles filled, okay? The only issue is how do you get the star power? How do you get the star power? Because they're not going to win a championship without star power. There's too much star power in the league, actually, to win a championship that way, in my opinion. Like, you got some really gifted, like, just look at Siakam. Power forwards like Siakam weren't doing that back in the day unless they were, like, top 10 players, right? Now Siakam is like, oh, yeah, fringe star. But he's, like, off the dribble, shoots threes, passes, like, spin moves, crafty, like, does all this stuff. But it almost gets underappreciated because it's, like, the new normal for a forward to be able to do those things if they're a good starter. You know, it's like you see some of these moves that Denny makes. It's like, okay, what forward that the Blazers had that wasn't a star in the past, 15 years could do some of the things offensively that Denny can? None of them. Aminu, Harkless, Hood, like Hood could score, but he couldn't pass. He couldn't handle like that.
Maybe Batum a little bit.
Batum is the closest guy. But, yeah, Batum is maybe the closest guy. And he got a max contract for it. So, you got some roles filled. It's just how do you find the stars? And it's going to be via trade. It's going to be via the draft. In the draft, you kind of got to get lucky. You got to be drafting in the right spot. You also got to be able to develop players, which is a question mark with Portland. Okay? The edge against them not being able to do that is to accumulate assets, gain flexibility so they can take on salary to accumulate more assets, and then at the end of the day, hopefully you have a good enough pool of assets down the line to be able to trade for that star if that's the one missing piece, right? I don't know who that star would be, but you look at Cleveland, they're 22-4. They traded for Donovan Mitchell, okay? And they look really, really good right now. So yeah, that's kind of the calculation in terms of how the Blazers can try and land that star. And right now, in the meantime, we have to hope that maybe that star is already on this roster. I just think it's much more likely that it's not on this roster.
Yeah. And I mean, how likely would it be to get that player via trade as well? I mean,
it's possible.
Yeah,
you have the assets.
Like a young player.
I mean, Donovan Mitchell was young enough for Cleveland, and we're talking about like 3 years down the line when some of these guys have matured. So it's not like right now. It's just when they're if they have Klingon that's like top 3 rim protector in the league. If they have Denny, who improves a little bit between now and then, is like really good starter. You got Tamani, 3-and-D guy that can start or maybe be one of the best bench players in the league, right? Like, let's say Sharp is a good enough starting 2-guard, like becomes efficient, doesn't become a star, but can give you like 20. It's kind of like Simon's like, right? You got a lot of pieces there. Then it's like, okay, well, we just need a star. We need somebody that can like carry our offense, because they should be able to put together a pretty good defense, especially with Klingon and with Avdia and with Kamara. So it's like, okay, how are you going to be a top 10 team on both sides of the floor? I think the path to being a top 10 defensive team is clearer than the path of being a top 10 offensive team. They need to find somebody that can help them become a top 10 offensive team down the line. And that means somebody that can carry your offense, that can draw multiple defenders and make things easier on other players, make other players better, put the ball in the hole. Things break down and get clunked up late in the game. You need somebody you can throw the ball to that will go make something happen and consistently succeed in those scenarios. So that's going to be the biggest question mark, I think, for this rebuild, is who is that star going to be? But in the meantime, you got to trade the vets to accumulate assets, accumulate flexibility, so you can accumulate assets.
We need our SGA.
Yeah. Yep. Unfortunately, we don't have a Paul George to trade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was what, the 11th or 12th pick or something, 13th pick? What was he? Yeah. You look at all the best players in the league. Giannis, 15th pick.
Jokic was 41st.
Yeah. Luka was 3rd, but Donovan Mitchell, who you mentioned, was 13th as well.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, it's not impossible to do that. J-Dub, who you mentioned, was the 12th pick. Like, there's a lot. Kobe was the 13th pick. Yeah.
I mean, even Steph Curry, he was 7th pick? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. You gotta be able to draft, man.
I mean, LeBron was 1.
AD was 1.
Yeah.
Tatum was 3.
Yeah.
I mean, Edwards was 1. But like Devin Booker is another good example. Jalen Brunson, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi was 15th. Jalen Brunson was like early 2nd round, and Devin Booker was late lottery. He was like 11th or 12th. Klay Thompson's fallen off, but he was late lottery. Tyrese Maxey was like the 20th, 21st overall pick, something like that. There's tons of examples, man. There's tons of examples. So yeah, how do you got to draft? You got to find that player through the draft, and you can do it even if you start to win.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the NBA has gotten better at scouting, though. And those players, if they go underdrafted, it's because they're older. Right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing, though.
But it's like, out of this past year's draft so far, the player that looks like he might be the closest thing to a star is Jared McCain. And he was a freshman, but he was the 15th overall pick. In college, it was like, oh, he's a shooter that can do a little bit off the dribble, but like just seemed kind of mundane. But who's the number 2 player in this year's draft right now? It's Dalton Connect. He fell to 17th because of his age. And I was sitting there screaming he should get drafted far earlier. I think that's a lesson to be had is like, you look at Brunson. He was a multi-year college guy. Steph was a multi-year college guy. They slipped because of, they were in college for a while and they were older. Kawhi Leonard, I believe, I don't know how many years he played in college, but Chris Middleton, Jimmy Butler, you got some good examples of guys that were multi-year college guys that slipped. So it's like, okay, who's that guy this year?
What if Dame goes higher if he...
Yeah.
Not that he was ready to come out earlier, but like he was maybe thought of as an older prospect as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's who's that guy this year? If I had to bet on if there's a guy like that in this year's class, my bet would be Cam Jones. I wouldn't hate taking a chance on Cam Jones if the Blazers got a second first-round pick and traded Ant. Let's say they go forward in the lottery and they have a later first-round pick. Like, take a chance on a Cam Jones. But anyway, we'll talk more about prospects on the next post-game stream because it's our big board. So we'll table some of that talk for then. Anything else you want to get into, Eric?
No, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Thanks for having me a little later, Tori, and hope everyone has good couple days until Thursday where we'll have 2 more streams, right?
Yeah. 2 streams on Thursday. We'll have picks, and we will have the post-game show after the Blazers take on the Nuggets. And it's a light stretch of games, 2 games in 11 days due to the NBA Cup, but starting Thursday, things pick back up until the All-Star break, so we'll be with you much more often. Trade rumors will start to pick up. It's kind of it's one of the best times of year for content because you start to really get a feel for draft prospects. You got all these trade rumors. You're leading up to the All-Star break. Teams have established whether they're good or not, right? And normally this time of year is like the time when rookies or young players start to take a jump. Hopefully there's somebody like that on the Blazer team. So really looking forward to the next stretch of post-game shows and all that. But definitely enjoying the break as much as I can. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Looking forward to Thursday night. We're out of here. We'll catch you Thursday. Enjoy your week until then. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.